Hello everyone, in this video we are going to briefly discuss the two physical systems that I have sketched out here, both of which involve rotating rigid bodies, and the main point is going to be we're going to show how and why, despite being clearly different systems, they're actually instantaneously equivalent to each other. Just to make it completely clear what the two systems we're considering are, I've just added to each of those diagrams to show where the rigid body is going to end up after a short time interval in each case. So in the case that I've labeled 1, which is the diagram at the top, we have an object which is rolling without slipping across some surface, and so you can think of this as an object which is sort of translating as a whole in some particular direction with a velocity that I've labeled VC, meaning center of mass velocity, while simultaneously rotating about its own center of mass. The only purpose, by the way, of these little marks that I've made at the circumference of the rigid body is to show that the rigid body is rotating, right? So the point that was originally right on top of the rigid body has rotated clockwise through some angle after some short time interval. Now in case 2, the diagram at the bottom of the screen, we have an object which is rotating with the same angular velocity omega, but it's rotating about a different point. So imagine that you have drilled sort of a tiny hole pretty much at the circumference of the object. So at this point that I've marked with a cross, and then you stick a pin through the hole and you fasten your rigid body to a flat surface, but you still allow it to pivot freely about that point. That's what's going on here. So as I've indicated with the dashed line there, after the same time interval that we looked at in case 1, the rigid body will have rotated through the same angle as in case 1 because the angular velocity is the same, but it's rotated in such a way that that point that we have pinned in place has not moved. Now remember, my claim at the beginning of the video was that despite being two different systems, it's valid to think of these two systems as being instantaneously equivalent to each other. And essentially what we mean by that is that the velocity of any particular particle, any arbitrary particle in the rigid body in case 1, is the same as the instantaneous velocity of the same particle in case 2. So to help us prove mathematically that that's actually true, I've defined some vectors on my case 1 diagram. So we've got a couple of position vectors relative to the center of mass of the rigid body. You've got position vector r, which is the position vector of some arbitrary particle within the rigid body, which is this dot here. For reasons that will become clear in a bit, I've also defined the position vector rc, which is the position vector of the point of contact between the rigid body and the surface it's rolling on relative to the center of mass. And finally, I've also defined the velocity of that particular particle at this particular instant in time. And while I haven't gone to any great effort to draw my diagram to scale or anything, I have very deliberately made this angle here not equal to 90 degrees. It would be a 90-degree angle if each particle were just moving in a circle about the center of mass, but that would only be true if the center of mass velocity Vc were 0, right? The fact that the rigid body as a whole is translating to the right with the velocity of Vc means that each particle gains a little bit of extra horizontal velocity, which changes that angle from 90 degrees. So let's write down an expression for V in terms of the other parameters of the system. I'm going to say that V is defined by a function v1 of the position vector r, because we're going to have a separate function v2 for the velocity of the same particle in case 2 later. And this overall velocity is simply going to be the center of mass velocity, vc, plus the component of velocity that each particle acquires due to its motion, its circular motion about the center of mass, which is omega crossed with r. This omega here, the angular velocity, I've written as a vector, and so because we are thinking about a rigid body rotating in the plane of the screen, your omega vector is perpendicular to that plane of rotation, so it would be pointing into the screen here. Now that expression for v1 of r that we've written down is quite general in the sense that it hasn't assumed anything about whether the object is slipping or not. So we can make this more specific to the case that we're considering by mathematically writing down the no-slip condition. The defining property of rolling without slipping is that there is no relative motion between the point of contact of the rigid body and the surface it's rolling on and the surface itself, right? In other words, the point with position vector rc, the particle with position vector rc, has a velocity of 0 instantaneously. All that means is if we were to evaluate v1 at the particular position vector rc, we're supposed to get 0, otherwise it is by definition slipping. So if you just replace the r in our generic v1 of r expression with rc, you conclude that vc plus omega cross rc is equal to 0. And then we might want to make vc the subject. Vc is obviously just minus omega crossed with rc. I just want to really emphasize that this condition, v1 of rc is equal to 0, is only an instantaneous condition, by which I mean that essentially it's saying the velocity of this particle right at the bottom is 0. But of course, that particle doesn't always have velocity 0 at all times, right? If you were to look at your rigid body sometime later, that particle that was previously at the bottom is now somewhere over here, at which point it doesn't have 0 velocity anymore. So I'm going to revisit that point towards the end of the video. It's quite important to keep in mind that it's only instantaneously true. Now let's try to perform the same analysis in case 2 and see what happens. So our v, velocity of that same particle in case 2, which we're now going to say is defined by the function v2 of r, is not going to have any translational component because it's pure rotation in case 2, right? So there's not going to be any equivalent of this vc term. It's just going to be omega crossed with something, and that something needs to be the radius vector that takes you from the point of rotation to the particle itself. In other words, we need the vector that goes all the way from the center of rotation at the bottom to the particle itself. And you can see straight from that diagram that to get from the point of rotation to the particle, you go backwards along RC and forwards along R. And so your vector is going to be minus RC plus R. Then we might want to expand the brackets to get minus omega cross RC plus omega cross r. But then the first term there, minus omega cross rc, looks very familiar from our analysis of case 1. And that whole thing is in fact just vc if we're saying that there is no slip. And you can then see that it follows that your two functions, v1 of r and v2 of r, the velocities of that particle in both cases are actually identical. So because every single particle within the rigid body is moving with the same velocity at that particular instant in time, if you're ever solving a problem about an object rolling without slipping, the equations that you're going to get are actually going to be completely identical, regardless of whether you think of it as actually rolling without slipping or whether you think of it as rotating without translating about the point of contact with the same angular velocity. And by the way, in my next video, I'm planning to cover exactly such a problem, and we'll be discussing how the equations that we get can be understood either from the perspective of case 1 or case 2. The last little point that I want to address here is, well, you might be thinking if every particle in the rigid body is moving with the same velocity in both case 1 and case 2, then how is it possible that your rigid body as a whole ends up in a completely different place after a short time interval, as you can clearly see from the diagrams? This goes back to what I was saying earlier about our analysis only being instantaneous. So knowing the instantaneous positions and velocities of the particles is enough to say that they're equivalent for that moment. But of course, we live in a world governed by second order differential equations. And so if you don't know the accelerations of the particles, then you don't actually know where they're going to end up sometime later. Now, in scenarios 1 and 2 that we've been discussing, although the velocities are the same, in both cases, the accelerations are different, and it's quite straightforward to justify that without even having to do any maths. Let's consider for simplicity the case where Vc and omega are both constants. In other words, the rigid body as a whole doesn't have any linear or angular acceleration. Now in that case, in case 1, the only acceleration that our arbitrary particle is experiencing is the centripetal acceleration, which is keeping it going in a circle about the center of mass, and therefore the acceleration in case 1 would be directed along this blue arrow that I've just drawn there, whereas in case 2 it's still, our particle is still performing circular motion, but it's performing circular motion about the pivot point at the bottom. Right, so the acceleration is along that direction. The lengths of those arrows, by the way, don't mean anything. I haven't drawn them to scale. But in any case, you can see that those accelerations of the individual particles are clearly different in both cases, and that explains why the rigid body as a whole ends up in a different position. Physically, the reason why the accelerations are different is simply that the forces acting on our rigid body in both cases are different. I'll just mention at the very end that this concept is sometimes called the instantaneous center of rotation or instantaneous axis of rotation. So if your object is rolling without slipping, you would say the instantaneous axis of rotation is the axis going through the contact point and pointing into the screen. That's basically everything I have to say about this. I think it's a point that is sometimes taken as just being obvious, but it's good to explore these things in more depth sometimes. So I'll look forward to seeing you next time for an example of actually putting this into practice.